Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm just waiting a few seconds so that everyone can connect, but we're really happy to have you joining us today. See, we've got a lot of people joining already. If you want to let us know where you're joining from in the chat, that'd be great. We've had a lot of people sign up from across the globe. Juliet and I we're connecting in Paris, where it's very, very hot. I don't know if that's the case where everyone else is, but we're really happy to be nice and cool in our office today. All right. Just gonna wait a couple more seconds so that people can connect.
David is in the same mood as us, like hot London.
Ah, oh yes, London is hot too. I know. It's been a rough week for everyone in Western Europe, so. All right. Okay. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get started. So, again, thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to have you with us. My name is April, and I'm the head of marketing at Stratex. And I'm here today with my colleague Juliet, who is our corporate learning lead at Stratex. And so today, what we're going to be doing is talking about how experiential learning in a simulated FMC environment is a really great way to boost your team's decision-making skills and so forth. And we're really excited to be showing our latest simulation, which is BrandPRO Energy Drinks, which we've just released. So really, if you guys have any questions throughout, you can let us know in the chat. But of course, we'll also have some time to go over your questions at the end. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? I think, Juliet, you're going to just talk a little bit about Stratex.
Yes, hi everyone. Nice to talk to you. Talk to you, not talk with you. So I'm Juliette. I'm corporate learning lead at Stratex for some times now, and thanks for joining us today. So we just wanted to start with a little brief of Stratex, who we are, because maybe some of you doesn't know us already. We know that there's some users that are joining today, so nice that you're joining today. But for the one that doesn't know us, Stratex exists for more than 40 years now. We've been created in 1984 by Jean-Claude Larcher, our CEO, based on a research project in partnership with the INSEAD Institute, marketing research project. And so all over the years, we've been working with lots of universities and business schools around the world. So we're now working with more than 80 countries, either in the academic sector with business school, but also with corporation. And so we're really happy that you joined today to lead this live demo of this new simulation we have that is focusing on the FMCG sector.
Great. Oh, great. And so, as Juliet said, I think a lot of you who are joining, you might already be aware of simulations, but for those who don't, we're just going to play you a really quick video so that you can just kind of understand what is a business simulation, what is a Stratex simulation, and why it's so effective.
In many organizations, getting teams aligned on decisions is not always easy. A StratX business simulation helps by recreating a realistic business situation where decisions have a direct impact on results. It works much like a flight simulator where teams can test decisions, explore different strategies, and see the consequences, all in a safe, risk-free environment. Teams step into the role of running a fictional company and must make choices. For example, where to invest, how to position their offer, or which priorities to focus on. Each decision immediately affects performance. Results change, new situations emerge, and teams need to adjust. This creates a continuous cycle of deciding, seeing the impact, and adapting. Along the way, teams gain a better understanding of how the business works, align more easily on priorities, and develop a shared way of thinking. And because it's interactive and fast-paced, it's also highly engaging and genuinely enjoyable. Simply put, StratX business simulations empower teams to truly understand the business, adopt the right behaviors, and gain the confidence to make smarter decisions in their day-to-day roles.
Okay, great. So that was just a quick overview of what are static simulations and their impact. And one thing I also want to highlight is our simulations are based off of the Markstrat model, which is one of the most researched models in the world, in the industry. So it's a really credible model that we're using, and that is really what BrandPRO Energy Drinks was also built off of as well. So just to talk about a little bit more, why does simulation-based learning work so well? It's really because people learn best when they're actively involved in solving real problems rather than just hearing about them or, just learning about them passively. So in our simulations, participants are placed into realistic environments where they face many of the same pressures that they would encounter in their real business roles. And for example, there are deadlines, competitors can respond to their actions, market conditions can evolve. And teams have limited information and limited resources. And because the environment feels so real, participants behave like they would in their actual roles. So they're not just discussing hypothetical scenarios, they're actually making decisions and experiencing the consequences. And so it creates really some very important benefits. First of all, the learning really becomes immediately applicable because participants connect concepts directly to their business decisions. And also, they can really experiment safely because in the real business world, if you maybe make a mistake, there's going to be there's going to be business consequences. But here in our simulated environment, they can take risks, they can test ideas, and they can really learn from their mistakes without, like I said, the real world consequences. And finally, because they're so actively engaged throughout the experience, the learning really happens much faster and it actually tends to stick much longer as well.
And if I may add, April, yeah, that's really like the feedback we got from either the teachers because we're working again with lots of teachers in different universities, and the feedback we got from the participants, and also the feedback that we got from the corporate part when we're doing seminars and stuff with the simulation, is that the reason why those elements stick and stays longer, it's because it brings all those emotions. So people are playing team against teams, they are competing against each other and so on. So at the end of the day, you're also involving lots of emotion during the day. So what you learn really stick. And that's also, I guess, specifically for the corporate part, maybe also for the teachers. But what you want to do and what is sometimes the challenge today would be to really stick those new elements, those learnings, facts, to keep them in the long term and change for real the behaviors. And sometimes, and so with the business simulation, sorry, it really sticks because it brings this emotion because you experience it yourself. So, and that's something we
Exactly.
really get from lots of our users, participants, clients, whatever it is, all around
It's
the
so
world.
true. And like you said, we hear from so many, this is from the professor side, but they say their students, it's the most memorable thing that they do in their courses. So that's really great. And it's also the same on the corporate end as well. So yeah, you're definitely right to bring that up, Juliet. And so, I mean, today we're really going to be talking about FMCG, how this is, the issues that a lot of leaders are currently facing in the FMCG world. This can also be applied for the academic side as well. But so, as Juliet said, we've been talking to a lot of learning leaders, and we hear many of the same challenges. And this can kind of go across many different industries, but this is really specific to FMCG. Really, they're being asked to do more with less, having to improve profitability, but also having to continue to innovate. Also, consumer expectations are evolving really rapidly, and competition, of course, is increasing. And of course, resources can be very constrained. Budgets are, being reduced. So teams really also need to collaborate across functions more effectively than ever before. So really, the challenge is that only understanding what these pressures are isn't enough. Most people know that these exist. Everybody who's working, they're like, yes, I know I have to do more with less, but it's really what the question is, how do I do that? How do I make these things really possible? How can I change my behavior? How can I change my team's behavior? And so really, that's really one of the benefits of using experiential learning is you can actually change behaviors and actually try to make these improvements without having, again, any consequences. So maybe Julia, if you wanted to talk a little bit about our BrandPRO simulation, which is going to be addressing some of these FMCG challenges.
Yeah, sure. So BrandPRO, for those who doesn't know the product, because again, we know that some of you are users already, but BrandPRO is a simulation based again on marketing and brand management. So we're using this simulation in different type of programs. So it can be definitely if you're a teacher, it can come goes for your marketing, depending on what you want to learn and to teach to your students. And in corporation, we're also using them in different type of programs. And for those programs, so usually we have an instructor that will bring some elements, or the company will directly play the simulation in the company. So we can use them, for example, in onboarding programs, definitely as a meaningful team building, because people again are playing team against team and they're learning about strategy, building a strategy, communication. There's many elements that you can bring in those programs by playing the simulation, by having also a realistic environment like what you're doing during your daily life. And so also we can use those simulation, for example, in leadership programs. For example, in leadership programs, what is really interesting, it's like whenever we have like the C-levels manager around the tables, where we'll analyze, it's not only like the consequences of the decision you're facing in the simulation, but also like the game around the table and how people will communicate and use the capabilities of leadership in the seminar. So we're also discussing and showing the capabilities by analyzing the game around the table. So there's many application where for those simulation. And so basically in the simulation itself, the thing is like you are managing two business units. So you are playing someone that just came in a company and you have to build your strategy for your company over 5 years. And so you're in a very competitive dynamic. So you're playing against computer. So you're playing your team, and in the process, you're playing against computers. So basically, some competitors that are played by a computer. But you can still compare how each team evolves and how each team is doing with their strategy, their decisions, and so on. So it's a very competitive way in two ways, like the direct competitors in your environment where you take your decisions, but also with the other teams that are playing during the day. And so you're making your decisions over the years, and so you can see, of course, the strong collaboration about the people around the table, and there's lots of elements that can come up depending on what is the purpose of the playing the simulation. For example, in 2 weeks we are playing the simulation with one of our client for a seminar in a day. And the purpose would be more like the strategic thinking. They've been trained for AI tools for a long time. Now they want to focus and use those tools. They still want to have a focus on strategy. So we're playing the simulation for one day with all the team, the C-levels managers. And then the key idea would be really to bring the strategy again in the team. So that's basically the application we can also give to the simulation. But maybe let's go directly into the simulation, so I can show you a little bit how to play. Let me share my screen with you guys. Can you tell me if you see it?
I think it's showing up. Yep.
Yeah, you can see. Perfect. So welcome in BrandPRO Energy Drinks. So basically, as you can see, you have three parts in the simulation. So again, the key idea with our simulation would be to improve our share price index. Share price index, again, everyone knows what it is. It's the value of your company, basically. And so you have three sections in the simulation. You have an onboarding part where you'll have all the elements about your mission. What is the purpose of the game? What is my company? What are my products? How to play the simulation? And what is my mission? So basically, if I enter, I can see some elements that would be helpful. So we have some videos and stuff because we're in 2026, so we have lots of very dynamic also documentation and so on, because we know that sometimes too much reading takes too much time. And then we have also some elements you need to read before you start the simulation. And then we have those two elements, those two parts, situation and strategic moves. in situation, basically we'll have informations about the market, about the segments we'll have. Like for example, we have 3 type of segments, and so we can see everything about the market segments, the brand positioning. So I can see, for example, that the brands in the market are here, and the 3 segments are Gen Z, Gen X, and Millennials. And the key idea then is by analyzing all those elements I got in the situation, then I can take a decision and build my strategy for my 2 products in the market. So I'll take some decision about innovation. What type of project do I want to launch? Then we can have some, of course, decisions about the segmentation, because we know, everyone knows that segmentation is kind of the key of a successful company when it goes to a brand. Oh, that's pretty helpful, actually. And then we have the positioning. Sorry, the positioning. So it's basically in here, I have to check what would be then my positioning for each of the brands. And then I have also the pricing. So how much do I want to sell my products to make sure that I'm in the right strategy? And then you have some advertising communication also budget to look for. So that would be basically the simulation, and then you're running. So you apply your decisions in here. You're discussing with your teams, agree on the elements, and so on. That's the really interesting part sometimes. And then by the end, when you're done with this, then you can run the decisions. So as probably most of you would be an instructor, like teachers, professors, and also for the corporate part, you have an access, like an extra, we call it the instructor access, where you will monitor the simulation. You'll be able to see the result, and you can manage to play the simulation in a row in different period. Like for example, if you want to play over a few weeks, then you can stop after some times, and you can play the simulation over different period of time. Depending, it's really flexible based on how you want to play the simulation in person, online, and so on. But I think this will come a bit later. We're back to April presentation.
All right, great.
Any question maybe so far?
Yeah.
Because
And of
sometimes
course,
when
for
you know
anyone,
your tool, you just go too much in details.
exactly. No, and of course, if anyone is interested, we're happy to give you an access so that you can actually go into the simulation and really play with it. As we were saying, I mean, one of the great things about BrandPRO Energy Drinks is, and I think this is something we mentioned earlier, it's really great because participants are really facing the same challenges as real FMCG brands. So I did kind of touch on that earlier in the presentation, but again, they have to make all these trade-offs throughout the simulation, making like strategic decisions. Is it more of a better idea to maybe target a premium or like a segment that might be maybe a segment that wants something that's a little bit more expensive and fancier, so we're going to focus our R&D on that? Or do you want to focus more on growing volume and so forth? Also, like, having the health expectations, or maybe focusing more on the taste itself. And so there's all these things that are in the balance. Consumer expectations are evolving. Competitors are really reacting as the years go on. So like we said, this is kind of over 5 years in a really compressed amount of time. But it's really a great way to, it really mirrors that complexity, and it also forces participants to really start to think strategically and kind of like on a top level, not just like focusing on one tactic. But they really have to think about the entire business, the entire market. They have to make decisions in so many different elements. It's not just one thing. So it's a really great exercise, a very holistic exercise as well. And so, yeah, it's great for really for this type of thing. And again, it can be great for students, of course, marketing managers, sales managers. It really can work for a lot of different profiles.
And yeah, and I would say that that all those elements you mentioned, it's also depending on how you're playing the simulation, because the simulation itself, of course, you're building a strategy, you have this customer centricity, so that's really interesting. For example, I mentioned a client that will meet in 2 weeks for a seminar in a few days. And basically, for them, what would be really interesting also is based on all of those elements, it's just like go out from their comfort zone. Like you're usually taking decisions in an environment and so on that is related to your company and so on. And so sometimes it's also really important to go out of your comfort zone. So for example, that's the reason why those marketing simulation will not only be used by the marketing teams in the corporate part, I mean. But it can be also used by some sales managers or so managers in general and so on. And that's also the possibility to have some introductions about marketing, and also to really understand how each department, for again for the corporate
Mhm.
part, but also maybe for the students then when you're learning about marketing, how each department will then impact the global strategy of the company. Yeah.
Exactly. That's great. And that's a really good, well, segue kind of into our next slide. So Juliet did go into the simulation, and I think everybody saw the perceptual maps. And that's really something that's really, really powerful in our simulations, especially and in BrandPRO Energy Drinks, because it's one thing, like you're able to see a market evolution, again, in this compressed time frame. And it really kind of forces the participants to really become customer centric, like what Juliet was saying. They have to make sure that, you know, their products are really adapted to the segments that they're targeting, and they also have to evolve with the consumers' behavior changes over, you know, a period of time, which is very similar to the real world. The only difference is it's happening like, you know, in a couple hours here. So really, success for teams really comes from anticipating what those customer needs are. And so teams really have to adapt, and also maybe, you know, like make strategic moves if they see that on their perceptual maps, maybe they're not really adapting their products for the proper segment. They're going to see the consequences of that. So it's a really good exercise in pushing for customer centricity. And again, it's one of the more powerful things in our simulations.
Yeah, and again, it's so easy to, because that's also a discussion I had like really recently with some other users. It's when your daily life in your corporation, in your studies, whatever, you're mainly focusing on what you're doing, what is your strategy, what is your things. But basically, what is really important, and that's how you make some so you win some market shares and stuff in real business, is basically by understanding the need of the segment. So at first, identifying the segments here in the simulation, they're already identified, but then to really understand their need, what do they want? And once you have your targeting, your segmentation, then the needs would evolve each years.
Yep,
And so that's also something that is really realistic in the simulation, and that yeah, we have so many good feedbacks about in the simulation.
exactly. That's right. And so that is great. I think a lot, and this is important for both the corporate and the academic users. What are the outcomes of using this type of simulation? And we already touched upon some of the things, like customer centricity is a really big one. But you know, strategic thinking is one of the biggest, I guess, skills that participants will acquire by playing a simulation like BrandPRO Energy Drinks, because of course, you know, there's a lot of data that they have to be analyzing. Like I mentioned before, it's taking this holistic view and being able to, you know, see the business like from a 360 view, and making decisions in R&D, communication, pricing, sales, so forth. So they really do have to be, strategic about making these decisions. Of course, the customer centricity thing I think is very powerful. We already talked about that. Understanding the evolving customer needs and market segments. Of course, there's also the data element. You know, BrandPRO has a lot of data in it, and this is also what we're talking about. They need to know how to take all this data and kind of analyze it and figure out what does it mean, and then apply it and make those decisions that are really going to make a difference for their fictitious company. And so that's a great skill that participants will acquire. And again, the prioritization is a big one too. And like in the real world, I mean, it's not like you have an infinite budget. You have to make decisions with what you have. So you have to decide, what am I going to allocate to which channel and so forth. And again, having the data in the simulation really can help with that. But that's a great skill that this simulation can help build. And of course, there's the collaboration element where it's working together as a team. I mean, this simulation works really great as, you know, working together as a team. it's a lot of times it's under time pressure, and you're creating this bond with your team, but you also are trying to make these, strategic decisions. People might have different opinions, but you have to come to a conclusion and all decide what's the path we're all going to take moving forward. So it really does build that sort of team building or, collaboration element as well, which is very powerful. And that's something that a lot of our customers say is so great about using simulation like BrandPRO. So, and I mean, this is just the, I mean, this is there are certainly other capabilities, but these are kind of the top ones
Yeah.
that we have identified. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's some others for sure because, for example, it depends on again how in what like what would be the subject the objective of using the simulation if it's in a marketing course, for example, because again there's many teachers, so when it goes to teaching some marketing, is it like general marketing? What would be the level of the students? Are they early stage students, master degree students? So
Mhm.
depending on how deep you want to go in the capabilities or the just yeah, the outcomes of this the training, then it depends also on the instructor and what the instructor really want to show. So it depends also on how supportive you are in the simulation, what would be the learning content you're bringing around it. For example, when we go to corporation and we're talking about seminar, it will also really depend on what is important for you, for the corporation, to learn, to what is the objective. It would also depend then on who is the instructor, who will bring the content and so on. And that's the reason why it's very, very flexible. It's basically because you can really adapt on what is important because it's so general by having a realistic, for example, in BrandPRO Energy Drinks, a real realistic FMCG environment. But for example, we could use it for a cosmetic company that would need to have just the elements, and based on what they really want to learn, what is the challenge of the seminar, then you can adapt the capabilities.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point too. So yeah, so we've kind of looked into the participants' experience. We've talked about what type of capabilities they can develop using BrandPRO Energy Drinks. So I think now, Juliet, do you want to kind of show how these programs can be delivered and implemented in
Yeah,
practice?
definitely.
So, all right, yeah.
Yeah, because as you may understood already, we're very flexible. So there's many way to deliver a Stratex program. So using the simulation. So you will always have access again to the instructor platform where you'll manage to create your course, set up everything, register your participant, and monitor the simulation. You can get certified for the simulation. That's usually what we're doing if you want to provide your own training for your own students, participants. And so we're always supporting by giving you the licenses, the technical support, and so on. And so in general, also, you have many type of option. I mean, we have some people that are doing the trainings online, hybrid, on site. There's so many ways for you to deliver those programs. It's really like, as again, it's a platform, like you just have to get a computer and an internet connection, and either you do it in person, either you do it online. Again, it depends sometimes on what would be the purpose of the simulation. If it's a team building, then it's easier to be together in the same room to have this energy to come up. But yeah, there's many ways to use the simulation, and also we're giving you so many documentation, so many material that you can use to be comfortable and so on. And we're really supporting you to deliver those trainings.
Hmm.
So yeah, for the program
Yeah.
delivery, I think that's all. Then
Okay,
maybe we
perfect.
can
Yeah,
move
and
on. Oh, sorry, go
sure.
for it.
No, that's
Maybe I
fine.
forgot
Sorry.
something.
No,
So
no.
yeah,
Go ahead.
usually what happens is like we define the way. So the best way to work with someone It's basically you contact us with some needs. Like for example, you think about a program, what a type of programs and so on. So usually we received some interest for the simulations. So then we'll define together, we will discuss together what do you have in mind, what would be the idea, and so on. We see if it's really possible and so on, and we give you also some support on the training design. We explain to you by our experience. I mean, we can guide you a little bit. Then we can create the program, and we can finalize by just giving you some trainings and stuff if needed. And then you run the program, and once you're more confident, then you'll have access to all the elements. But for example, for corporation, we also have some turnkey event where we just first decide or understand what would be then the purpose of the seminar, the event, the reason you contact us, and then we can provide everything. We can definitely again create the program, validate with everyone, and then run the program. And usually, what we like to do, it's like those simulation are something very powerful because again it's experiential learning, so you're living something like something that brings again emotions and stuff. But what is important also is sometimes to have a callback. So after a few months, to make sure that it really stick to the behavior change and so on, we like to do a small half day or just a small session with the participant to make sure that it really stick to the people. And that's another part, but maybe I'm going too much in details.
No, that's great. And I think it would be good if we yeah, can maybe talk about,
Mm,
how does it work exactly with, the
yeah.
learnings and how do you apply with the instructor and so forth.
Yeah, and I mean, if anyone is really interested on having some also use case, we can share with you some agenda we already completed, or
Mhm.
we can give some guideline, of course. But usually, a program with a simulation. So the simulation you can either, for example, use it at the very beginning, or maybe add an assessment at the end of a training. But then also, usually, what happens is like we are playing the simulation, some rounds, then we're bringing some content, some debrief sessions. Then we're playing the next rounds and so on. Then some more content, some debrief, and by the end of the day, you have the big debrief session. Usually, how you have a first debrief about the simulation itself because you want to know who won the simulation. I mean, we're all the same on this
Yeah.
one, like who made the best SPI, basically. And then
Mhm.
later on, it's really important also to have a second debrief on what did you learn. So we usually ask the participant like what would be the 3 points that you've learned during the day and so on. We make in common. And then, for example, if it's for a corporation, then we would use those elements. So how could it be useful for your daily life at work and so on? And so you leave with some elements. If it's with the teacher, then it would be like, for example, I don't know, you're in a marketing class and you want them to learn about brand management. What have you learned by playing the simulation? And it's the same because then for them it's really important. I mean, it can be also a way to assess them, like you make a presentation of what you've learned. I don't know, that's your thing, but that's also really important. This debrief session is really important at the end of the simulation, and so that's the way we usually provide the trainings.
Exactly. And again, like what Juliet said, it's very flexible too, based on what your needs are. And I think we also have a lot of different learning themes, which maybe Juliet, you already touched on those. I'm not sure, but
Mm,
there's all, leadership, marketing. We also have sustainability and circularity. So that's a very big topic now too. But of course, we're kind of focusing a lot more on FMCG and so forth right now. But I think it could be interesting to kind of show you an example of a program that we recently ran with one of our clients who is actually a leader in the biotech domain. So they were using a different BrandPRO because once again, energy drinks has just launched. So we've had BrandPRO around for a while and we have different industries now. So what they decided to do was instead of just doing like a one-off workshop, they wanted to spread the experience over several weeks, and they did it in a blended format. So it wasn't 100% online or 100% in person. So it really started off with an on-site session, and that's where participants were really introduced to BrandPRO. And so they started the simulation. They did the first 2 years together. And then they had some asynchronous time where they went through the 3 additional rounds kind of outside of the workshop, kind of on their own time. They were able to continue that independently through the 3 simulation rounds. And then they had live online debriefs to kind of see the results. And they also were able to discuss the strategic decisions and connect their experience back to the key concepts that were being discussed. And so at the end, the program really concluded with a half-day on-site workshop. And this is where teams, they actually did a presentation a lot like Juliet said. That's a very effective way to kind of synthesize all of the learnings, and each team could kind of make their own presentation. They can talk about the strategies that they used, and that's what they did in this case. They reflected on what learnings they had acquired, and they also identified like how they could apply those insights in their roles. So they were taking those insights and they were actually saying, this is how I can use it in my day-to-day job, actually. So it was a really good example of how BrandPRO can be integrated into like a broadened blended learning journey rather than just a standalone activity, but it does work very well as a standalone activity as well. This is just an example of how it can be deployed. We have various other ways to do it, but this was just one that was successful. And again, one thing that was great about it too was, and maybe a lot of you are finding this either with your teams or your students, everyone's very they're very busy. So having it in a blended format can really work well with busy schedules as well. So, all right, I think,
And again, there's so many type
yeah,
of way to do
yeah.
that. We usually like to say inside the Stratex that we have so much application as much as we have clients and users, instructors, and so on, because there's so many way to play this that we have so many. We have so many applications.
It's true. It's a very
It's always
flexible.
different. I mean, it's never the same. Never, never.
It's
Sometimes
never
it's
the
a
same,
bit,
exactly.
yeah, it's a bit more like it looks like a little bit the same when it goes to teacher, because whenever you need to learn about
Yeah.
marketing, then usually it's the same outcomes or
Hmm.
capabilities that you want to teach. But when it goes to corporation, it's always, always, always different. Like,
Hmm. It
but
is,
that's nice to
exactly.
have some use case. I hope it's helpful for you to have some insights. Maybe do you have some questions? I see that there is some already. How
Hmm.
much time is typically needed to set up, prepare for a simulation? Oh, once you're ready, I mean, once you have the training and so on, it can take like so if you have your participant list, it can take like 30 minutes or something just to set up the simulation, because you just have to create your course, then it's validated, and then you just register your participant and so on. Once you know how it works, it's pretty easy and quick. Um, and so yeah, if you have the list of your participants, then I mean, in 30 minutes, you can set up everything to be ready to play the simulation.
Right.
Um,
Yes. So
just
does
a
it need to be
suggestion,
connected? Oh, sorry.
just a
Sorry.
suggestion. Can you both go a bit slow? Rest of you doing great. Thank you. Yeah, the rest of them were
Sorry.
amazing. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, maybe we were going a little too fast. Okay, sorry. We will try to slow down moving forward. We will be sending out the recording too if you want to review some of the points that we were talking. But thank you. We will take that into account. Okay, it needs to be connected with Wi-Fi or not required. So
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
it's a
Usually,
cloud-based solution, so it you would need an internet connection to use our simulations.
mhm. That's the
Uh,
only element you would need specifically. With a computer, that's better, because having Wi-Fi without the computer, the device, that will be a bit complicated. But
yeah, that
then,
would be a
yeah,
little
you
hard.
need the. I hope it answered the question. Uh, for a client who wants to use its own instructor, how long would it take to train them to use your simulation and your methodology? So usually the certificate depends on if you want a train the trainer or a certification. So usually the certification can take it's it can be like 2 days. So usually either we have many so it's sessions up to 10 people maximum for the certification. So we have to organize a session with many people that want to be trained, that you can practice the simulation. So it's a 2 day session. And how much does it cost? It's really depending on the simulation, because we have I think in our portfolio we have like 15 simulation, and it depends on what simulation you want to be trained off, and how deep you want to go in the simulation, because the certification is very specific, like you go very deep in details. If you just want to understand how it works and so on, for example, we can certify some teachers that are doing lots of programs, but there's some, for example, assistant teacher, for example, they would just need a trainer that would last 1-2 hours, and that's completely enough to run the simulation. So that depends on how deep you want to go in the certification to play the simulation, and yeah, it would depend on that one, and depend also for the pricing on the simulation.
Okay, great. I'm just going into the chat because I know some people were asking some questions in there, and I see there's Jennifer who asked, she needs to explain the game during an amphitheater. So do we have a PDF document explaining the game in simple terms? Yeah, we can definitely provide that for you to help you with
And
that.
actually, I know I have a session planned with you, Jennifer. Don't worry, we'll talk about everything together on the
okay.
10th, if I'm not mistaken. The 10th of July, we have a session together. So don't worry, you'll have all the elements, because basically you got this trainer session where you'll have all the keys you need for your class.
Great. Okay, perfect.
Yes, I
Oh,
will
and
check with you,
Ahmed,
Juliette.
yeah. That's good. And we have Ahmed who's asking about corporate training. So for a corporate training, it usually takes 4 to 5 days for Markstrat, which is 8 to 10 rounds. How many days would it take on average? And so again, it's very flexible. Juliet, do you want to kind of elaborate on that?
If you mean about, because yeah, for Markstrat, Markstrat is a very, very deep detailed simulation. We call them the master simulation, because the decision making can last 25 hours, depends on many elements, of course. BrandPRO would be a pro simulation, so it's usually take 3 to 5 hours of decision making. We can manage to do it in a half day, but that's not that comfortable. That would be more for a team building, when you don't want to go deep in the capabilities and stuff. We usually recommend 1 day for a BrandPRO. That's already enough to play the simulation and really have some content, and have an introduction and a debrief session that would have some meanings. But you can do it in a half day, but it depends on the groups. Also, if you have many people, then you're more comfortable doing it in usually 1 day. So yeah, 2 days, of course. And again, for example, leadership, we can do it with BrandPRO in 4 days, because then we have also lots of content that will come on the capabilities on leadership, and because you need to understand also them, and then you apply them then by taking decisions around the table in the simulation. So if you just want to play the simulation in a row, you would need 3 to 5 hours. So usually more 5 hours than 3. But that would be, I hope it answer your question, Ahmed.
Okay, great. He says thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have a few more questions. Which one do you want to go for, Juliet?
I think there's some in Q&A. Hello,
In the
what do you mean
Q&A.
by distributed delivery? Distributed delivery is because we have also some partners on some region. So basically they have they doesn't really have a certification, but we have a contract of them. So they deliver some licenses to some clients, so some of their clients and so on. So we can have also some distributor contracts with on some region in the world. So I hope it answers the question, Katerina. And
so we also have
like the
like
other instructors.
go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, like other instructors' courses, do we get the instructor's manual or a guide to follow? I meant answers or solutions beforehand. Yes, of course. With BrandPRO Energy Drinks, you will be provided with an instructor's manual, just like in all of the other BrandPRO scenarios that we have, as well as Markstrat. So you will have all of the teaching material needed for the simulation as well.
And we also have another quick question from
Okay.
Shoaib. Can we be trained like trainers of your courses and sell in our country? Definitely. you would need a certification. So that's something we'll discuss that you can contact us actually, and we can discuss further on what would be the again, because based on what type of program you would do, you would need different type of certification. So this is a bit too general, but yeah, definitely we are training many people to deliver the programs, to use also the simulation into existing programs, for example, with learning companies. Like you have some learning companies that are doing some trainings in corporation. We can integrate a simulation in an existing programs. So there's so many applications that the best thing would be just contact us. We're here to help, and we can give you the guideline based on what you want to do with the simulation. In executive program, academic program, in corporation programs, we can do all of it.
Great. All right. So I think the Q&As have been answered. I'm looking into the chat again. I see there's another comment from Salim Ahmed. Under a business degree program, in which courses would be suitable to apply the simulation? How could it be applied in the class? I think, yeah, I mean, Juliet, do you want to go ahead or?
No, go.
Um, I think it could really be applied to a lot of different courses. I mean, in undergrad, in business schools, any sort of marketing class would work great for it. I don't know if you do have a consumer goods class, it could be very appropriate for that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for a consumer goods focused marketing class. But really, any sort of marketing class, you could definitely use this simulation for. I don't think there's any sort of I don't think there's any sort of like constraint with it. If you think teaching your students how to market in a consumer goods market, then I think it could be a very great
And
simulation to use.
And I mean, that's not only focusing on, I mean, that's a marketing simulation, definitely. But if you want to have an introduction on marketing, for example, in engineer school, just for people to
Mhm.
understand like the marketing in general, we are also using the simulation in those type of programs. So they don't
Mhm.
want to go too much deeper. They are not like a specific marketing programs. So again, depends on the level of the students. You will go deeper in the marketing's capabilities, but you can definitely also use it in engineer school. So
That's a good
there's
point.
so many
Yep.
applications.
There are a
I hope it
lot.
helps.
Okay,
I think maybe we
great.
have a last Q&A. Yeah,
There's one
I
more
hope it
left,
will
it
be
looks
not
like.
very expensive. Also, so for the pricing, that's important maybe to say that sometimes, because we know that not everyone is in the same region. We have also, so I mean, it's been 40 years that we exist. We're in 80 countries. We know how the world works. So we have also some specific pricing based on your region. So that's something you can really discuss with the right people. So don't hesitate to contact us. Also, there's something we want to mention for the rest of you that are still here. So we'll send that also. I think April will send that in the communication right after the event. But for the people that would like to try a program with BrandPRO Energy Drinks, for the first programs, we would allow a 10% discount on the program just because it's a new product and we would like really to spread the word. And so if it's something that really interests you, don't hesitate to contact us. And so it can also maybe support the last question we had on the pricing. That's something we really want to give because it's the beginning for this simulation. We're really proud of it. We know it's a really good product, and just so if it helps, then 10% discount. That's something we want to provide on the first training if you've participated to the webinar.
Yes. Okay, great. So I don't know, are there any other questions? I think maybe we're done for the day. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody who joined us. Thank you, Juliet, for taking us through, showing us
You're most
the
welcome.
simulation. And of course,
Sorry, we were so fast.
yeah, sorry, next time we'll try to slow down. That's it's sometimes hard. But yeah, but in any
Yeah,
case, for any of you who are interested in learning more about BrandPRO Energy Drinks, please reach out to us. I will be sending out the recording of this webinar with some additional information about BrandPRO Energy Drinks. And
Mhm.
yes, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd be happy to assist you. And really
Mhm.
appreciate your time today. And looking forward to seeing you again, maybe in one of our upcoming webinars.
Yeah. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.